estrogen and testosterone and their derivatives are what we call sex steroids. Now, the sex steroids immediately call to mind sex, for obvious reasons, and steroids, meaning anabolic steroids. But I just want to emphasize that estrogen and testosterone are present in everybody. The ratio of estrogen and testosterone in every individual has profound influence on feelings of well-being, feelings of optimism, feelings of anxiety or lack of anxiety, on reproduction, on sexual behavior independent of reproduction. They are profoundly powerful molecules, and we all make these molecules to some degree or another, but there are also important behavioral tools, supplementation tools, as well as prescription drugs that can impact the ratios of testosterone and estrogen in really powerful ways. Testosterone will fluctuate across the lifespan. Testosterone is going to be relatively low pre-puberty in males. During puberty, it's going to skyrocket. And then the current numbers are that it drops off at about a rate of 1% per year. The release of these steroid hormones from the adrenals, in particular testosterone and some of its related derivatives, are mainly activated by competition. So let's talk about competition, because it turns out that competition is a powerful influence on the sex steroid hormones, and the sex steroid hormones powerfully influence competition. So just as there are behaviors that can increase testosterone, there are behaviors that can decrease testosterone. And one of the most well-characterized ones in humans is becoming a parent. So expecting fathers have an almost 50% decrease in testosterone levels, both free and bound testosterone. As well, their cortisol levels, a stress hormone, drop by almost threefold, which is incredible. And their estradiol levels double. So their estrogen levels double. So expecting fathers, many people have known, put on additional body weight. Everyone always thought that it's because they're eating in parallel with their pregnant wife. But it turns out that these effects of reduced testosterone, increased estradiol, and reduced cortisol can all be explained by an increase in prolactin. I always say, look, their behaviors are the fundamental layer. You have to do the right things for anything, for sleep, for learning, for sports performance. But then there's nutrition, supplementation, prescription drugs, and then off-label stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And so we always think about, when you hear hormones in sports, you always think just the raw conversation about anabolics, all the banned stuff. We could talk about that stuff and how it works. Years ago, I used to work on androgens, testosterone and its derivatives, and how it impacts brain development and body function, fear, and also mental states. But there's a category of supplements that are very interesting that for most people who aren't exploring testosterone augmentation for sport, work very well to increase testosterone by about 100 to 200 points. So there's something called sex hormone binding globulin and albumin. They carry the testosterone molecule to the different tissues of the body. So you don't want all your testosterone free. You want some of it bound up so that it can be delivered to the different tissues, including your brain. But if you have too much sex hormone binding globulin, the testosterone can't really do its things, okay? I'd love to talk a little bit about hormone replacement therapy in men. When one looks on social media and the internet, there seems to be a younger and younger cohort of guys, people in their teens and 20s, showing up to the table thinking that injecting testosterone cypionate or taking Anavar or whatever it is going to be the right idea. They mainly seem to be focused on cosmetic effects. I'm not a physician, so I can't say whether or not they were actually hypogonadal, et cetera. But if a male of any age is not trying to get decent sleep, exercise appropriately, appropriate nutrition, minding their social connections, et cetera, the idea of going straight to testosterone seems like a bad idea. That said, just like with depression and antidepressants, there is a kind of a cliff after which low enough testosterone or low enough serotonin prevents people from sleeping, exercise, social connection, et cetera. So I do want to acknowledge that. The dopamine system is in touch with the autonomic system, sure, because it has to register success versus failure of some pursuit. The prefrontal cortex is actually part of the dopamine reward system. People often overlook this, and then we just think about nucleus accumbens and ventral tegmental area. But the prefrontal cortex, because as you pointed out before, it is generating possible outcomes, different rules, different selves are being projected into the future. The key thing with dopamine, I think, that encapsulates the most of it is this notion of reward prediction error, which is very simple. If you are excited and anticipating something, you are generating some internal sense of the probability of it happening. We're going to the ice cream store, kids. Let's go. We're going to have ice cream. We have ice cream. It's closed. The disappointment that they experience actually brings them far lower than they would feel, much more sad than they would feel than had you not told them you were going to get ice cream, which speaks exactly to what you were saying, that it's an anticipation signal. So dopamine's going up, 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 we're going to get ice cream, and then no. So it drops below baseline. They would have been better off being not told they were going to the ice cream store. It's interesting because one thing that we know, again, about the dopamine system, it's about anticipation. The other thing that is absolutely clear about the dopamine system is that it is tacked to pursuit more than it is to outcomes, but it is highly subjective to interpretation. And this is exciting, actually, and holds great possibility. I mean, putting mania aside, when dopamine is elevated, it tends to put our perception to things outside of I would say beyond the confines of our skin. This explains why manics are all about plans and the future. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be president, and I'm going to do that, and et cetera.
You see the opposite in neuroticism, because one of the